Hello everyone. I really hope you're all doing well today. I am currently sat in a little patch of sunshine. It is gorgeous today, but my God, is it warm. This space has been getting it's kind of on the same level as when I was keeping my plants in my mum's conservatory. It's just been ridiculous, which has been lovely because loads of my tropical plants love the heat, but it has just meant that I've had to be going around with my watering can pretty much every single day to some plants in this space. So it's been a busy couple of weeks. But today I thought I could just sit down and do some plant chores with you guys. I haven't done just like a sit down chatty Q&A video in a while. I asked you to send us some questions and I've got a ton to get through. So yeah, I've also got a pretty good idea of the things that I want to get through today. I know I can be so good at setting the camera up and then just yep, and actually not getting through that much. I've got some pretty desperate things that are needing doing at the moment, which are quite sad and are purely down to the fact that I have not been good at keeping on top of everything. But then I've also got some really exciting things, like the fact that my Anthurium pallidiflorum berries are finally ready for harvest. So yeah, I thought I could start them off today, chat you through that. I've got some plants that I want to combine as well. So yeah, that's very much the plan for today's video. But first, if you're new here, hi, my name's Claire and this is Yoli. I make videos all about houseplant care, sharing tips and tricks I've learnt over the years to help keep your plants happy and healthy. And as I always say, if you've got things to be doing as well, then please feel free to grab some plants, do some plant chores along with me. We can have a chat at the same time. And yes, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get into it. So the thing that I'm going to start with is not going to take that long, but it's something that desperately needs doing. And I feel so sad about this. This is one of my pothos plants, which as you can see is looking god awful. This is the one that I've had in the kitchen going above the kitchen window and it's looked so beautiful there, but it's just not the right space for a plant. I should have thought about this more when I first moved in here, and I think really I went a little bit style over substance. I really love the look of the plant there, but it just hasn't worked out. I think because the top of the fridge where this plant's pot has been gets so warm, it's kind of like this plant has just been sitting on a heat mat, and as I say, it's been ridiculously hot here these last few weeks. Last few months on and off actually, but it's got up to like mid 30 degrees Celsius, which is ridiculous. And considering heat rises, this one has just gone downhill so quickly and I have not been good at keeping on top of it. So I noticed a few leaves start to fall about a month ago and I threw some water on the plant and yeah, it's all just gone downhill. So I think the best thing to do is probably definitely the best thing to do is to chop the whole plant up and start again. This is not going to miraculously just turn a corner and grow new leaves without looking very, very straggly. So yeah, a bit of a reset for this one. I thought I could make the cuts, put them to one side, let them callus, and then probably just throw them into a prop box later. There's also a lot of it's so floppy and it's just not great. So I might not propagate every single section. This, I would say, is probably... Where are the scissors? Where are the scissors that were just in my hand? Ah, here they are. I would say this is probably the worst plant in my collection at the moment. And I think often when you've got plants that are quote unquote really easy ones like pothos, it's so easy to just overlook things with them. I must say I've got a beautiful pothos that's in my dining room, which I also love. Actually that bit there I will do is just like a top cut because I think that's fine. Yeah, I absolutely love that one, but again I think because I know that it's quite drought tolerant, I often let it go way too dry before I do anything about it. So this is completely my own fault. And I probably don't need to tell you guys how to propagate a pothos, but in case you haven't done it before, I will just take a cut with these bumps on the stems, which is where the leaf point usually kind of joins, and that's what's known as the node. I will probably propagate this section in water just because it's very easy to do. In fact, I'm just going to remove that leaf there as well. So yeah, I will just submerge that in water. And then it will root. It is one that, like, very rarely do I have pothos cuttings fail. They do seem to be just like a very great kind of beginner plant if you're new to propagating. All of these bare vine sections, I'm just taking off any dead leaves, and then I'm just gonna chop little wet sticks. Also, there are several flies in here that are buzzing around. I'm hoping you can't hear them because it's very annoying. Tried to get them out, couldn't get them out. But then, yeah, little wet stick sections. This is actually a very small one, but just like that. So it's just a section of stem. And again, the bump just there is where the roots will grow from. This kind of applies for like any plants, to be honest. Like most plants that you can see, not even prominent nodes, but like the place where the where the leaf joins the main stem, that is where your roots will grow from. The only exception to this are plants such as like Alocasia, bird of paradise, stuff like that don't have one main stem. But any that do, like this, like vining plants, you prop them in the exact same way. So yeah, I'm just going to make loads of cuts here. And then I probably don't even need to let them callus over, but to be on the safe side, it's a nice warm day, they'll callus very quickly, and then I'll pop them into the sphagnum moss propagation box. But yes, as I say, I asked you guys to send in some questions because I was like, I haven't done a Q&A in ages, and I love doing them. I often find as well that when I've got specific questions that you've asked to be answering, I get way less distracted than when I just sit down with plants and kind of go on a tangent, because when I go on tangents, that's when I do get distracted and I get way more involved in the conversation that I'm having as opposed to the plant in hand. So seeing as a few things that I've got to do today are a little bit like fiddly and time consuming, I thought that would be fun. So I've taken all the questions from Instagram and I've put them in an order. The first one being, what is going on in your life? Because that felt like a good place to start. And so it felt like a good place to start. What has been going on in my life? I mean, lots of things have been going on. I think the main one that I've obviously spoken about in videos quite a bit recently is the fact that I've been a little bit all over the place with my plant care. I have got rid of so many plants. Honestly, I have not had a declutter like this. I want to say like ever. I don't think I've ever got rid of so many things in quick succession and actually felt like it was the right decision. So yeah, that's been something that, although these last couple of weeks I have felt like I'm kind of getting back to things, like I've walked into this space and I felt way more motivated to actually start my plant care. Yeah, that has been something that has just been getting me down, to be honest. Like, it's a horrible feeling when you're suddenly not feeling motivated to do your hobby. Particularly, as I say, when like the plant's care needs are so high at this time of year and like you do need to be doing so much. There's been so many times recently that I've just looked into this space and I've just been like, oh my God, I can see that plant dying, or I know that one needs water and I just can't muster up the energy to go and do it. So yeah, in the process of overcoming that, that reset day that I had though was so useful for me, like actually having a bit of a rearrange in my space, taking certain things out. That felt like a really good kind of thing to do for my mental clarity. And if you guys are feeling a bit stuck with plant things and you're not quite sure like how to get going again, 100% I would say have a reset. Like, I know it just sounds a bit boring, but there is just something that shifts in you when you do that. And yeah, it's made a massive difference for me. So yeah, planty wise, that's that's kind of been what has been going on. Like, I don't have maybe as much to report on in that department as I usually would, just because I haven't been doing as much. And then life-wise, things are, again, on the whole, pretty good. Been going for some lovely walks with Yoli recently. Both me and Ross have decided that we're going to try and get a bit fitter and kind of use this time of year to spark motivation in that department, because I think often, as someone that is not like I've never been a big gym person, I've never particularly been a big exercise person, but it's so much harder to like find your flow healthily in the winter months, I think, just because, I don't know, again, like it just comes down to motivation, doesn't it? But no, it's been a lovely excuse to go for some lovely walks, and Yoli has loved it. So that's been fun. We've also decided to turn Ross's nerd room / office into a bit of a gym. He's got an exercise bike that he uses from time to time, and it's in there. And we actually found a treadmill very cheaply, I think, on Facebook Marketplace. And so we've put that in there. So we'll kind of like watch a movie together whilst doing a bit of walking and stuff, which sounds really lame, but it's been quite fun. And yeah, apart from that, just been plodding on really. Like I think just in general I've just been a little bit up and down at the moment, partly because I have been, again, this is another one I'm going to just do as a top cut, partly I think just because I have been feeling really guilty that I've not been feeling more on it with my plants. I think as well this time of year is the time of year where usually I feel like really inspired and really, really motivated. And when that hasn't been there at this point, I think I've just been beating myself up a little bit, which I know I shouldn't. And I know also this has been my first summer living here. I've got the garden, like I've got other things that I've been wanting to do, but do you know what I mean? Like when the spark just goes a little bit. Also, I can see a predatory mite on the camera lens. So I'm hoping you can't see that. In fact, oh, you know what? No, it's there to stay. If you see something crawling over the screen, that's all it is. Yes, and of course the other thing has been pests. Pests have been the thing that I've also been battling that's making me feel a little bit like bleh about things. Found spider mites recently as well, which was fun. Fortunately only on one plant, and that plant is now up in the bathroom for the time being, isolating. Oh no, that's a lie. 2 plants. Got spider mites on 2 plants, one of which is in the living room, and I'll talk you through that shortly. But yeah, the predatory mites that I introduced for thrips have done wonderful things so far. It's only been, I think, a week and a half to 2 weeks that I released them all in here, but I released more than I have ever released before. And in fact, I also went and got another big tub of Amblysius cucumaris, which are the ones that target young thrips. And I was just like, you know what, if I'm going to go all in on the biological pest control route, and I'm going to really get to the root of the problem and not just kind of do a temporary fix, I'm like, why not just bring all of them in? And yeah, haven't seen any young thrips in, I think, about 5 or 6 days now. I haven't wiped down any of my plants again. So that's them obviously just kind of getting on and doing what they're meant to do, which is really good. The aureus mites, which I introduced, which are the ones that tackle the black thrip, not larvae. Aureus larvictus is the name of the things, I think. I haven't seen many of them. In fact, I did see one earlier today, but I haven't seen many of them. But I haven't seen as many black thrips on my plants. I know they are the ones that are harder to get rid of, so I don't expect that to just be like a really quick fix. I'm just squashing all the ones that I see, and I should really get some blue sticky traps down and stuff, but I haven't done that yet. Yeah, apart from that, I think things are pretty good with me. What about you guys? How are you doing? I know I waffle and waffle and waffle in these videos, but I always love knowing what's going on in your lives. Have you done anything exciting recently? Got any new plants? yeah, do let me know in the comments below. But then the next question was, how has your Musa done after the repot? I was concerned. And this was not the only question / message I've got about this plant. If you watched my repot video, I think about 2 weeks ago, I decided, oh, actually, was it the complete reset? I don't know. But basically, I decided to put my Musa Florida variegata into a bigger pot with semi-hydro. I did a big old like root rinse and a big prune back of the roots. And yeah, I had loads of messages from you guys afterwards being like, oh God, I'd be really concerned if that was my plant. Musa doesn't always like that sort of thing. And in fact, I will show you it now because it's done really, really well. And it has actually put out a couple of new leaves since I did that. It did lose a couple as well, but that is a new leaf since I did the repot. And as you can see there, it has got another one coming as well. So I think we're in the clear, guys. I think we are doing all right. And also considering that was only a couple of weeks ago already, just look at those roots coming out of the bottom. This one is so quick to root, so I actually kind of feel like maybe if I want this plant to really, really size up and get big, which I do, I might have to do another repot at some point quite soon. I think I will definitely take it easier on the roots this time, because I'm aware I like went in there with the hose pipe and I was a bit brutal, but yeah, the plant has bounced back. Have you set up your terrarium cabinet yet? No, I have not. Again, I think like that was something that, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to do it and I just need to get on and do it. That's something that I know I spoke so much about and was like, I'm going to do it any day now. And then everything just suddenly became really overwhelming, and it has been like doing new planty projects has been like the last thing on my mind. I have completely cleared my cabinet out. It's just sat there empty at the moment. And I think I said recently, I definitely showed it on Patreon, but I said recently that what I've actually done is I've started a little prop box with pieces of cork. And in fact, you know what, I will just show you it now because I haven't checked on them in a while. But yeah, I put some pieces of cork bark into a propagation box, and then I just put some of my epiphytic plants. In fact, these ones are all Hoyas that I've done it with. I put them in there with some sphagnum moss, and I hoped that by kind of having them in a prop box like this, oh, okay, most of them are doing all right. I hope that by having them in a prop box like this, then they would start to attach by themselves. And you know what? This one's done it. So this is my Hoya Kalimantan. And yeah, you can see all the aerial roots up there that it started putting out. But this one, I don't want to kind of like test it too much, but that is gripping on by itself. And what I hope to do when I do come to set up my terrarium cabinet is I would like stuff like this to be covering the entire back wall, and like all of my epiphytic plants, which are ones like these that don't naturally grow out of the ground. They naturally grow attached to other like bark, shrubs, moss, you name it. Like I'd like all of those to kind of be covering the back wall, and I just think it will look beautiful. So I was like, if I start them off now, I wonder if any others have rooted. No, I think that might be the only one that's actually, oh no, you know what? Oh wow, this one has put out some crazy roots. This is my Hoya globulosa Welsh Mountain Zoo that I chopped up. Look at those roots. But again, this one is gripping on. Oh, hello, Yoli. You're coming to say hello at the worst possible time as usual. Hello, baby girl. Hello. And then these Hoyas here. No, don't eat the plants. Hello, sweetheart. Hello. These ones here, you can kind of see I've just again laid on the bark, and they are starting to root. This one actually looks like it might be rotting, so I should probably take that out. But yes, the terrarium cabinet project will be starting soon. I've got some bits all ready to go for it, but I just wanted to wait for a time that I was feeling really like inspired and ready to do it, as opposed to doing it for the sake of a video, you know. So yeah, haven't started yet, but hopefully will in the next week or two, I would say. I'd like to take advantage of the good weather actually and be able to do quite a lot of it outside. So yeah, I do need to get on and do that. One of you said, I've never had pests. What does this mean? I've had a few messages like this from people over the years. And honestly, if you have a big plant collection and you've never had pests, I am envious. I'm so envious. I think, I mean, obviously you're doing something right if you've never had pests. I'm guessing you're maybe quite vigilant about isolating your plants when you first get them. Maybe you're quite good at like regularly checking. Some people are just lucky and they just don't get pests. To be fair, I know I deal with pests all the time, but the first time I think I ever had pests was when I was living back at my mum's house, and I believe it was spider mites I found for the first time, and I freaked out. But I hadn't had pests for like a good few years of owning plants. I think it just depends, doesn't it? Like, I don't have the answer to that. Like, well done if you've never had pests. But also, if you do get pests, it's nothing to be ashamed or embarrassed about or feel bad about. It's just a pain. Whenever you bring a living thing into your home, whether that's an animal or a plant or whatever it is, you're likely bringing in lots of other stuff as well, even if it's microscopic and you can't see it. Sometimes you'll get a plant that looks like clean and clear and under control. Oh God, that's like a joke my mum would make. When you have got a plant that looks absolutely fine, no sign of pests whatsoever, sometimes you might then find that 6 weeks down the line, like something's happened in the soil and you didn't spot that when you first brought it in because you can't have done. So there's really no rhyme or reason. Like, obviously there are some things you can do to lower your chances of getting pests. For example, like I've got my back door right by the garden, and we are awful from going in from the garden, coming back in, leaving our shoes right by the door in the plant room. And if you've been outside, like in amongst plants and bushes and grass and stuff like that, you're probably going to bring stuff back in with you. So yeah, I need to get better at not doing that. But then again, like as I say, I go out for dog walks with Yoli in the woods all the time. I leave the windows in my house open. Pests just find their way in, you know. So yeah, great if you've never had them, but not something to be ashamed of either. Do you think you'll buy more plants anytime soon? Yes, I do. And I know the plant it's going to be as well. So I know this maybe goes against a lot of things that I've said recently. I know I said in my last video before last, I was like, I haven't bought any plants since Malvern, which was, I think, about 2.5 months ago now. For me, that is really good because I am a complete plant addict. I buy things all the time, even if it's just little cuttings. I am not planning on doing like any big plant hauls at any time soon. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I am. Like right now, I don't feel like I am. However, I came across a plant. I was actually looking for something completely different on Facebook Marketplace recently. And I came across the most epic plant. You guys, I don't want to say what it is because I think I might vlog the process of getting it because it is just so exciting. It's a plant that's been a wish list plant for me for so long. I have in fact had it once before. Didn't get on great with it, so this is a little bit nervy, but it's a big plant, and I know that might seem crazy, but actually getting a bigger plant right now, one bigger plant, although it takes up a lot of room, feels less daunting than getting like 10 little ones, because I'm like, it's only one thing to look after. But I know I was like struggling to fit certain big plants back into this space when I had my resets. So it is going to involve me moving some things out of this space. Yeah, I ummed and ahed it over in my head for a little while. And then I was like, you know what? This is a beautiful plant at a really good price. I think I would regret it if I didn't do it. So I'm going to pick up that plant this week. So yes, I am getting a new plant. But in regards to like a big haul of things, yeah, at the moment, I don't think so. I have no desire to right now as well, which is quite unusual for me, actually. I think like part of the like, I was going to say adrenaline junkie in me, but I think it's just like the addictive nature with buying plants. Like there is just something so exciting about bringing new things into your collection. And when the time comes, I'm very much excited to do that. I've got several plants that I am keen to get, but I'm just not keen to get them just yet. Particularly when I'm dealing with things such as pests. I think like it's just not the best idea for me. But then again, these questions are in a very weird order, and some of them are plant related and some of them are completely not. And someone said, do you wear makeup? And the only reason I included this question was because when I started thinking about it, I was like, I feel like this is a fun one to talk about. Because as you guys know, me and Ross love Comic-Con, and I was like, fun makeup. Fun makeup is one of my favourite things to do ever. Day to day nowadays, I don't typically wear makeup. I used to so much more when I was younger. I think as I've got older, I just tend to prefer, I don't know why, but just tend to prefer the look of my face without makeup. I do wear like a tinted sun cream and stuff like that, which I guess is makeup in a sun cream. So technically, yes. But no, fun makeup. And I was chatting to Ross about this the other day when we were talking about Comic-Con. Like, for me, that is one of the things that like brings it all together. And it's like art, isn't it? I went through a phase actually when I was younger of wanting to maybe be a makeup artist when I was younger because I loved it so much. And I will put some pictures on the screen of like various makeup-y things that we've done over the years. But that is one of my favourite things to do. It's essentially just like playing dress up, isn't it? But like before a Comic-Con, me and Ross will always like work on our costumes loads, and then I always find that the makeup just like brings it all together. So yeah, random question, but one that I thought I'd include because I find it fun. Also, I think I'm going to stop hacking this plant to pieces now. There's a few more straggly bits that I could get out of that pot, but I've got some nice top cuts here that I can propagate in water, and then I've got so many wet sticks. That's not even all of them. That I think I will throw into a prop box and probably just forget about for a couple of months, and then I'll be able to pot them all back up and get a really big, full, huge plant. I'd really like to grow something long time going over that window because I think it looks lovely, but I just think when I do it next time, it should probably start from the kitchen counter and like go up the side of the fridge instead of being right on top. I really should have thought about this better because even when I was at the flat, all of the plants I was growing on top of the fridge like were so hot and would dry out so quickly. So yes, but as I say, I'm going to leave those to callus for the duration of this next task, and then I will get them propping. And before I move on to the Pallidiflorum berries, which I'm so excited about, I am just going to change my camera battery because I forgot to do that before I started. So bear with me. Cool. So Pallidiflorum berries, that is what they're looking like. As you can see, the infructescence, because it's producing fruit, that is now yellowing and starting to die off. And this happened so quickly. So I first pollinated this plant in, I think like beginning of February. It was when I like pretty much first moved in here. In fact, I did it for a section of Alan Titchmarsh's gardening club. I like showed how I pollinated. And what's the month now? It's July now. So January, February, March, April, May, June, July. 6 months from pollination to harvest, in my eyes, is very, very fast because the only success I've ever had pollinating an Anthurium before this was my Clarinervium, and oh my goodness, if you've ever pollinated an Anthurium Clarinervium, you will know it takes forever. It took about 1.5 years from pollination to harvest with that one. And I don't know if I thought maybe these berries, I thought they'd get bigger. Like my Clarinervium berries were bigger when I picked them, I believe. I did also make a video that I will link down below this, like from the start of that process, talking you through exactly how you go about doing it if you're interested in finding that out. It's really easy to do. But yeah, potentially here I have, I don't know, like hundreds of new plants. I don't know how many seeds there are going to be per berry. But what I am probably going to do, I'll just move back a little bit. Not that you'll be able to like see amazingly with this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pick the berries. In fact, let's pick one together now. Oh, this is a nice big one. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that. How cool is that? And then, yeah, I will try and get the berryness, like the goopy, fleshy bit off. I'll give them a rinse in some water. And then I've actually got another prop box that I'm going to start just here. And again, I think I'll probably do sphagnum moss. I did do a big kind of like experiment the last time I did this. I tried some in sphagnum moss, I tried some in perlite, I tried some in soil, and then I tried germinating some in the dark and some in the light, and I actually found that the ones that started off in the dark did better, not significantly better, but I think for that reason I'll probably do a couple of different containers, and I will keep some like in the cupboard of chaos and some in this room. But yeah, I'm just gonna peel them. Oh my god. Oh, so already you can see just in that one berry, I've got 2 seeds there. So sometimes you can get multiple seeds per berry, which is really, really exciting. So yeah, I'm just gonna do that, give them a rinse off. They're really small. In fact, before I start doing this, I should probably create the little prop box. I know some people that have done this with anthuriums before have said to me, like, you don't even need to like take the berry off, you can just plant them with the berry, and the berry will kind of naturally decompose. But from what I've read, that can, and this does make sense, that can make the actual seeds way more susceptible to rotting. And I did it this way last time and I got so many Terrariums out of it. So I think, just to be on the safe side, I am just going to go back in with this same method because I know that it worked. But yeah. And I don't know how quick they'll be to sprout. Again, the Clarinervium ones did take quite a long time for me. I think it was a good few months before they actually started doing anything. But seeing as this one was quicker, like the whole time around from pollination to harvest, I'm like, maybe these ones will be even faster. I don't know. Also, I'm totally going to give top priority to people on my Patreon. I've already said that. But when the time comes that they are kind of sprouted and I am getting rid of them, then I may very well open it up to you guys as well. I know I also said about the Rhaphidophora foraminifera, if anyone wants cuttings of that. I know I've got several people, I've got loads of you guys that said, yes, I can't do cuttings for everyone, but I haven't sent any out yet just because, again, I've had pests in this space and I'm like, I need to wait until that's clear before I start shipping you out thrippy plants, you know. So yeah, please bear with me on that one. But yeah, cool. Little sphagnum moss prop box. I need to get more containers like this because I whiz through prop boxes, and in fact, all of these ones that I've got right here, in fact, all of these ones in this hand could probably just go in the bin. Like, there's stuff in there that is just not doing well. These ones are all things that I'm thinking for the terrarium cabinet when it happens. Like, for example, I've got a Paleonia in there. Some of you guys were actually asking me about the plants that I got at Malvern, not the last Malvern, but last year's Malvern. And a lot of those ones were like terrarium-y plants that I just haven't done anything with. I've got another, oh my God, this one's going crazy. This is a Rhaphidophora something. I think it begins with a K. Oh, have I got multiple things in here, in fact? But yeah, I've got loads of things that when it comes to setting up the terrarium cabinet, I will just be able to go boof and put them in there. I really want to get some cool Markgravia plants as well because I just think they look gorgeous in terrariums, and like climbing all up the back I think would look so pretty. But yeah, I do need to have a clear out of some other prop boxes because it's so easy to ignore when things are just in a box, but I should really do that. I also should not have just put these seeds into water because they're going to be so hard to get out now. Oh no, Claire, this was a mistake. Okay. And with these seeds, I'm just going to lie them on top of the sphagnum moss. They are so small, but I'll put some clips in when I finish this so you can like see what I mean. Oh my God, even getting them off my fingers is a nightmare. We might be here for a while today. But then the next question was, my clarinervium has squiggly pale patches across the leaves. Any thoughts? So without seeing a picture, it's hard to say exactly, but the fact you're describing them as like squiggly makes me think pests. I think particularly with plants like velvet leaf plants like Anthurium, clarinervium, it's really, really common when you do have like even really teeny tiny pests that you can't see to the naked eye, like flat mites, for example. They do often like nibble the fronts of the leaves, and that creates that kind of squiggly pattern, and it does make them look very faded. So yeah, that would be my first thought. If that is the case, I mean, so like for example, actually, you know what? I've got my clarinervium here, and I've got a leaf on this one that was nibbled very badly by pests a little while ago. Like if you look at that there, if it looks like that, then yeah, I would say absolutely pest related. And if it doesn't, then it could be so many things. It could be down to a nutrient deficiency. So I think making sure that you're fertilising at the right rate, assuming your plant is growing, making sure you're using like a good quality substrate. Sometimes these, I don't know, like big box store places that sell plants have awful quality soil. I'm just growing mine in a chunky soil mix at the moment. I'm tempted to try it in semi-hydro. But that would be my first thoughts. Maybe, like I keep saying it, but maybe at some point I could get you guys to like send in some pictures of your plants and your plant problems, and we could maybe go through them together. I'm not saying I'm an expert, because I'm definitely not. But I have dealt with many a plant problem over the years. So sometimes just like having an extra pair of eyes on things is quite useful, isn't it? So, yeah. Let me know if that's the kind of video that you would like. I've done things like that again on Patreon before, but I don't think I've actually ever done it here on my main channel. So yeah, do let me know if you think that's a good idea. So many of these berries have double seeds in them. This is really exciting. I so hope they germinate. Are your friends planty people? Do you think you've influenced them? So I've obviously made amazing friends through the plant community, and some of my very close friends now I would say are absolutely planty people, like for example Emma, the one that most of you know on here because she is also a YouTuber. But my friends from like outside of plants that I haven't met through doing plants, none of them are planty at all. Like some of them like the look of plants. Thank Yoli. Thank you. Thank you. So none of them have ever particularly been planty. One of my friends actually has recently, similarly to me, he's recently bought a house, and he has now got a garden, and he's getting super into gardening. So that's been quite fun actually getting to chat to him about that, and kind of figure things out together, because he's never done it before and I've never done it before. I've got, like, actually, yeah, I think to a certain degree I've influenced some of my friends. Like, lots of them have now got some plants, and they wouldn't have had plants before. But I wouldn't say any of them are like, I mean, they're definitely not obsessed in the way that I am. Yeah, I've got friends that do just like a mix of stuff. Some of my closest friends are from drama school, so I've got friends who are in the arts. Typically, well, not most of, but like a lot of people in my life are in like creative avenues. But again, that's just down to the environment in which we met. A couple of my really good friends are teachers, so yeah, not primarily planty. But like I say, I've also made some amazing friends just through like being a plant person. Like I've met some amazing people at plant swaps. I'm actually going away with some of them at the weekend. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. How about you guys? Do you have any planty friends? Because I know it can be quite difficult if you've got a hobby that you just want to talk about all the time and other people just don't get it. Yeah, I didn't have planty friends for years, and I would just kind of tell everyone I knew about, like, this was my plants, that was my plants, and I was like, I'm sure this is very boring for you. But again, that's why like I love or found things like YouTube, because I was like, cool, I can just chat about plants and there are people that want to watch it, and then people want to chat about plants even more, and that is still, yeah, that's still something that obviously I love. So yeah, just like creating your own planty community is something that I've tried to do to a certain extent. God, these seeds are so small. I feel worried about them. I'm worried that they're not gonna root because they're just so tiny. Pray for these seeds. One of you said, I have thrips. I'm feeling so low, like giving up completely. I just don't know what to do. Yeah, I feel you. It can be so difficult when you feel like your collection is just being overrun with something and you can't get it under control. It is, oh God, it just feels so defeating, and it often feels like all the hard work you've put in to like grow your plants really beautifully, like all of that is kind of lost. I just want to reiterate what I was saying earlier in the video about it, like if you're one of these people that never has pests, that's great, but that's not the reality for most of us. Most of us do deal with pests. As I've said recently, I'm using biological pest control, which is predatory mites, in my space here. But I have always said, although I prefer not to use chemical pesticides and stuff like that, if it comes down to your mental health and if it is causing you a lot of distress and it's taking a toll on you, go in with the chemicals. I know it's not the ideal, but go in with the chemicals. I would say if you're going to do that, really try to not do it outdoors, just because it can mess with wildlife, like things like bees. It's not just the bad bugs that are targeted, it's the good ones as well. I'm also aware that things like predatory mites can be quite expensive and they're not accessible to everybody all around the world. So yeah, I mean, like investing in a good horticultural soap and just doing regular wipe downs of your plants is obviously a very good thing to just be doing anyway. But try not to let it get on top of you too much, just because we all go through it. And even, I don't know, like even when I'm really on top of my plant things and I'm just feeling really good about stuff, when I come across pests, it always makes me go, oh God. And there have been many points over the years that it's affected me in the same way, and I've just felt so low, and it just kind of feels like you failed even though you haven't. Yeah, really, like pests being there in your collection is representative of exactly how it would be in nature. And the only thing that differs in nature is that the natural predators that eat the pests would be there without us then having to introduce them, if that makes sense. So yeah, try not to let it get on top of you too much. I know it's really hard. And I'm sure all of us can relate to that, apart from that one person that never gets pests. But yeah, I'm sure all of us can very much relate. Also, like, oh yeah, I mean the obvious things like isolating your plants if you possibly can. Um, Having a downsize as well, like getting rid of some things. I know that like if you are going to rehome plants with pests, you need to make it very, very clear that they do have pests. But I have done it before myself. Like I got rid of some plants when I was at the flat, in fact, that I treated for spider mites, but I knew they weren't completely in the clear. But I was just like, I can't be bothered to really like focus on getting them clear because I'm just not in love with the plant anymore. And I put them on Facebook Marketplace and I just said, these may have pests. And I was like, they're just free to a good home. And they got snapped up so quickly. So yeah, although that's not always the option that you might want to take, I would definitely say it's an option that you can. Yeah, it's really hard though. I do feel your pain with that. Oh, it'd be so great if we just never had to worry about that. I think obviously using, let's say, high quality products with your plants, like there's so many things that you can do to help prevent. But even when you're super, super careful, it can still happen. So yeah, just be kind to yourself is what I'd say. Also, every single berry so far has got 2 seeds in it. If these all germinate, this is going to be actually crazy. Also, I know I said I tried pollinating the other inflorescence on my Anthurium pallidiflorum recently. It's absolutely taken. It's going green right now, so I will have more berries soon. Not that I need them, it's just really fun. It's really fun. I know I've got asked before whether or not I'd start up like a plant shop again at any point, and to be honest, I don't think I would. I found it so overwhelming, the like packing orders side of things. Like once I was doing it and once I was on a roll, it would be great. But until that point, I would just like the working myself up to even just going and packing like 5 orders, I would just get the fear, and anyone that knows that feeling knows it's not a good one, and that was just starting to happen all the time. So yeah, I'm much happier focusing on my own plant collection, but that's not to say that I would never sell the odd thing here or there. I might. We'll just wait and see see how it goes, see how many of these actually germinate. If money was no concern, what planty things would you buy? Ooh. So maybe, so this would really be if money was no concern. Something that I would love one day, this may very well never happen, but I would love to create a little glass house, like a mini Kew Gardens. I fully know that this is an extreme and very expensive thing to want to do, but I would just love to have an entire big space that I could create controlled conditions in, and I could really attempt to replicate a rainforest environment to the best of my ability. I know I do it on a small level where I am now, like I've got grow lights and I've got humidifiers and all that sort of stuff, but I don't know, I would really love to do it on a major scale and be able to just walk through it and just feel like I'd stepped into the Amazon rainforest or something. I don't know how achievable that is. It would also require a lot of space, a lot of time, a lot of money. But I think the cool thing with that is, and I know actually there was a piece I watched on the Eden Project where they were talking about this quite recently. When you have got lots and lots of tropical plants in like a big glass house in a big contained space, initially when you start them all out in there, I think for like the first year or something like that, you do need to, God, there are so many flies. I think because the window's open, I think more are coming in. But you do need to like obviously pump the humidity. You need to really make sure that everything is stable. But then amazingly, the plants will kind of start to replicate those same conditions themselves without you having to do it. So obviously as plants transpire, they do release moisture, and that creates humidity in the atmosphere, and that essentially kind of allows them to act as a humidifier for each other. But it does mean that as time goes on, you probably won't need to run humidifiers that much, because the plants will just start doing it for you. They will essentially sustain the environment that you've built, which is just incredible. It really is incredible. So arguably things would get lower maintenance as time went on in that department. So yeah, that would be really cool. That would be really cool. But what would you guys do? Would you just get loads of wish list plants, or would you want to kind of take on a really big project? I guess also if money was no concern, you could just go, you know what, I'm going to buy a huge big house and I'm just going to turn the whole thing into like a massive planty space, which I think is valid as well. So yeah, let me know what you would do. I'd be very interested to know. I've been asked before if like, would I get like a big irrigation system or something like that, so that like all of my plants could stay watered without me having to do it. And although like right now that's kind of tempting, because I'm like, oh God, it would be so much easier just to be able to push a button and have the watering done. There's something about going around and actually doing it yourself, for me anyway. That's like the therapeutic, lovely side of it that kind of gets me out of my own head a little bit and makes me come into this space and check on everything. And I don't know, although yes, it is effort and it does take time, that's the caring for it is the main reason I have the plants. So I don't think I would do a big irrigation system. I don't know. Or maybe I would have certain plants set up on a watering system so I didn't have to worry about them so much. But then I just feel like if I wasn't going around and watering them and checking them, I would start overlooking things. Like if I didn't need to do that, then I'd probably be overlooking a load of other things, you know? I don't know. It's food for thought. I just can't grow Alocasia. I just can't help. So Alocasia can be a really finicky genus of plants. There are some that are easier than others. I made a care video recently on the Alocasia Regal Shield, and that one for me, hands down, is the easiest Alocasia I've ever grown. It really hasn't given me much grief in the time of owning it, but I do think it very much comes down to the way that you grow it as well. I've spoken before about my love of semi-hydro for Alocasia, and I've just found that since I've taken them out of soil and put them into a semi-hydroponic substrate, my life has got so much easier, because although naturally they do grow out of the ground in obviously soil, they just become really quite low maintenance plants when you're able to give them the exact amount of water that they need without having to worry too much about the risk of rotting, which semi-hydro does just give you that. I did actually last week make a full-on like breakdown video of exactly what semi-hydro is, a really simple step-by-step of exactly how to do it. Again, I'll link that video down below because I get questions about semi-hydroponic growing all the time. I know I casually reference semi-hydro all the time on my channel, and I always get people saying, what's that? How do you do that? And this is definitely not to like stamp on anyone else's take on like their content on semi-hydro. I think there's loads of people that do it brilliantly, but I do find that often it is really overcomplicated. I know when I first started out playing about with semi-hydro, I hated it. Like I lost several plants because I was like I'm doing all of these things and like nothing's working. And actually I think I was just massively overcomplicating it for myself. And really, when you just do it very simply and just focus on like getting the organic matter off the roots and like being very gentle with the roots, it really is a game changer for so many plants. The only ones that I ever find sometimes, and not all of them, but the only types of plants that I've ever found can be a bit hit or miss with semi-hydro is philodendron. I do grow actually several philodendron in semi-hydro now, and they're absolutely fine. But ones with a more spindly root system, like for example the philodendron splendid, I found that one wasn't a massive fan of semi-hydro. It wasn't like awful or anything, but I was having issues with that plant anyway. But I was like, maybe that wasn't the most sensible thing I could have done with it. But it's not to say I wouldn't try that type of plant in semi-hydro again. Yeah, and then going back to just Alocasia, I think although there are some types of Alocasia that are known as like medium light plants, I would always aim for high light if you possibly can. Humidity as well, they love humidity, the higher the better. But the main game changer really has been semi-hydro for me. So yeah, if you're not doing that already, I would highly, highly recommend it. I said in that semi-hydro video as well, I was like, I know that the mix that I use, like I use a soil ninja mix personally. I know that's not available to everybody all over the world, but you can mix your own semi-hydro. Lots of people love things like leca and stuff like that. But yeah, that would be my advice. Get off my knee, fly. That would be my advice if I could give you any for Alocasia as a genus. What's the next garden project? So we have had so many gardeny thoughts. Ross finished the barbecue, by the way, and it looks absolutely incredible. I will put a picture on the screen because my God, it looks amazing. We haven't actually christened the barbecue yet because we haven't had good enough weather, but seeing as the sun is back out now, I'm like, maybe we'll do it this week. He is so clever. It looks absolutely phenomenal. He's never done anything like that before. So yeah, I can't wait to have some barbecues and use the pizza oven again, because that pizza oven is just, oh my God, I feel so lucky to have it. It's so lovely. But the next garden project, what we're thinking is by the magnolia tree next to the pizza oven barbecue. You will have seen if you watched my garden video that I made with Ross. Again, I'll link it below. Linking all these videos below. But below the magnolia tree, we're thinking of doing kind of like a rockery / water feature / pond thing. But we want to do it with like really unusual, like reclaimed things. So for example, there's a butler sink that is currently in the back of our car. We found it on, again, Facebook Marketplace. I think it was on there for about 15 quid. Went and picked that up, and we're thinking about using the butler sink. We also have got some old whiskey barrels. We're going to use one whiskey barrel probably as like a water butt, because I would really like to start, especially like, I don't want to say it, but like heading to the rainier time of year, would really like to start collecting rainwater and using more of that on my indoor plants, especially for things like carnivorous plants and stuff like that. It is, I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. So would really like to do that. We've also got another whiskey barrel. All of these are just currently outside the house and we do need to bring them through. But we would like to just use as kind of like a little like bar table and put an umbrella in the middle and stuff like that. So yeah, we don't have, apart from like the rockery water featurey pond thing, in which we're also going to use another half whiskey barrel because we've got that as well. We don't have like, it's not like the barbecue. We don't have like specific big projects next. We've had so many talks about what we could do. But also, like, this is the first year in our garden. Like, we're full of ideas, and actually putting them all into practice, like, it does take time. We're really just thinking that we want to just give the garden as much character as possible. Like, we thought about looking for like vintage post boxes or like an old London red phone box or something like that, and maybe on the lead up to the top bit of the garden, because we're conscious we want to kind of make that a little bit safer. Because it is just such a steep drop at the moment with nothing around it. We were thinking about maybe doing a little picket fence and then getting like a vintage front door or something as like a little door going into that top section. we've had so many ideas, so many ideas. But yeah, apart from that, we haven't done much planting in the garden recently. Like, we've just spent time out there. Like, we've put a hammock up at the top of the garden. So you've just been kind of chilling out there, and it's just a lovely space to be able to have friends over. Because like when we were at the flat, obviously it was a 1-bedroom flat, both of us working from home. Like we didn't even have a dining table by the end of it. So like it wasn't exactly the kind of space to host, but it's been so nice like being in the house over these last 6 months and actually being able to have people round and enjoy the space with other people. It's been so nice. And also like I've just found it really lovely being able to invite people into my planty space a little bit, because this is such a like thing, but it is really cool to have someone come into your plant space and be like, oh my god, this is so awesome. Particularly if they're not planty people, it does kind of blow their mind a little bit, and that just makes me feel really proud. So that's been nice. I've had a friend actually who's been staying with us for the last 5 days. And she's really into yoga, and she would bring her yoga mat down in the mornings here and do yoga in this space. And I'll put it on the screen, but I got a gorgeous picture of Yoli just like on her yoga mat, and I was like, that's adorable. So yeah, went off topic there, but what was the question? Garden project. I don't know. I don't know. There's lots of things. But those are some of our current thoughts. If you guys have any ideas or like any thoughts or anything you've done that you've absolutely loved, again, please always let me know, because so many things actually that we've done so far in the garden have been inspired by you guys and the things that you've said and suggested, particularly things which actually has made me feel a little bit less bad about not doing that much. And I know you can't do everything at once, but some of the best advice I got from you guys was just to leave the garden for the first year and just see what naturally grows and see what you've got, and then you'll get a much better sense of what you want to do long term. Yeah, that was such good advice. And like, I don't know, I kind of thought, oh, we should be planting loads of things immediately, and we should be making it perfect immediately. Not that it's ever going to be perfect, but yeah, that just took a bit of the pressure off. The other thing though we do have to think about is like, we've got some beautiful hydrangeas that are actually in flower at the moment, and they are gorgeous, and they take up the entirety of the front flower bed, like looking out at the back flower bed, but like the front one towards the house, if that makes sense. And they look stunning at this time of year. However, obviously they're annuals, and for the rest of the year when they die back, I'm like, then you're just looking at an empty, dead, bare flower beds, and I'm like, I don't want that. I would love to be looking out at greenery year round, ideally. So potentially moving the hydrangeas. I don't know how easy that is to do. They are very big plants, but yeah, that's something that is on my mind. I don't really know how I'd go about doing it, but that's a potential project, I guess. Do you ever just let plants die? Sometimes, yes. I shouldn't say that, I know, but I do. I usually, if something's going really, 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 really wrong, like the pothos, obviously that is not something I tackled immediately when I first saw it. I did leave it until the point that the plant was literally dying. I'll always try and propagate if I possibly can. But there are times that there'll be a plant that I'm maybe just not caring about that much, and I'm like, oh, it's going downhill. I'll just kind of let it do that. Usually if I'm aware there's a plant that is not kind of bringing me an immense amount of joy and it is going downhill, I'll usually look to rehome it quite soon. I'm lucky in the sense that now I do have quite a few friends that are planty people, and I can just say to them, do you want this plant? It's not in a great way, but you can nurse it back to health, and more often than not, at least one of them will say yes. But I have definitely been guilty of letting plants die. In fact, like the graveyard of plants that was outside the back door, a couple are still outside the back door, and this was 2.5 months ago I put them there. A lot of them are just out there to die. I'm kind of hoping that maybe nature will allow some of them to bounce back. And you know what? There's a few out there I'm looking at right now that are not bad. But there's also some that went outside and have never come back in. So yeah, I do that sometimes. Will you be on the next season of Gardening Club? So I can't say, guys. I don't think even if I knew the definitive answer, I would be allowed to say at this stage. It partly comes down to whether or not the show is renewed. Yeah, I can't say, but maybe is the answer. Maybe. I absolutely loved doing the first season of it. It was so much fun. It's really fun to just like mix things up and do something a bit different, because it just threw me out of my comfort zone so much, because I'm so used to obviously doing exactly what I'm doing now, sitting down by myself, chatting to the camera. And this actually, like, it was all done in a way that I'm not as familiar with in the sense of how I typically make my content, because they gave me so much free reign in regards to like the things that we talked about and the subjects that we covered. And in fact, a lot of the time they would say to me, we see you've done a YouTube video on that. Do you think you'd want to talk more about this? And it was like a very collaborative process, which is what I loved about it. But it was also kind of script based. They were like, okay, well, if we're going to do that, we need to, I mean, obviously it's not just about me, it's about like the whole camera team and everything, and like them planning the show. So they were like, we need to have a script and we need to make sure that these are all the points that we hit. And I think nowadays with my channel, I do just tend to kind of film. I will obviously have an idea of what I'm going to film before I start. And sometimes like if I'm doing a purely educational video, I will sit down and I'll do like loads of bullet points, and like I'll have things like on my laptop next to me or like in a notebook. But I do also really like the ability to be able to just kind of do what I'm doing now and go with the flow and not worry about hitting those certain points. So yeah, as I say, massively threw me out of my comfort zone, but it was a lot of fun. It was so much fun. So yeah, I'll keep you in the loop. And when I'm allowed to talk more about things, then I will. What motivates you to care for plants on the days you're not feeling it? Again, goes back to everything I was saying at the beginning of this video. It can be really, really hard to find that motivation, and I do struggle with it a lot from time to time. I go through periods of feeling intensely motivated and just wanting to do everything and getting so much done. And then I go through other phases of things where, like, I don't know, I just feel, I know I'm using the term burnt out, but burnt out, not necessarily to the extreme, but it does feel like a degree of burnout, almost like paralysis, where you cannot bring yourself to like get up and just get on with things. And I think that's just a pattern for me. I think it will always be a pattern for me. And yeah, that is really, really challenging. I mean, the thing that I found recently that has really helped me, besides the obvious things like, again, getting plants into semi-hydro and putting things in place to allow your plant care to be a little bit lower maintenance. The thing that I found really useful recently when I was like, oh my God, there's just so much watering to do and plants aren't doing well, is I would almost set myself the task of doing it quickly, because I was looking around my plant space and I was like, things are dying, things are not happy. I know that usually I say you should be monitoring the soil and like making sure that you let plants properly drain and all that sort of stuff, which you should be. However, I'm like, if a plant is dying of dehydration, maybe just fill your watering can, throw some water on it and move on to the next one. Like, do a tick boxy thing in order to just get it done. And that is exactly what I did. And you know what? Everything has been fine. So if you need to do that from time to time, I would say just do that. Like, be like, okay, I'm going to take 1 hour, fill my watering can, and just do the bare minimum. As I say, long term, it's not what I'd recommend, but I do think sometimes as a bit of a quick fix, it is what's needed. Also, I'm aware that this is taking such a long time. I also want to combine these plants, so I think I might just do a few more and just kind of fill this prop box a little bit, and then I can move on to other things. Just because I'm aware that this is probably not the most interesting thing for you guys to be watching. You can't even really see it. I'm just, see? I'll put some clips in, but you can see the little dots, and those are all the seeds I'm just laying over the top of the sphagnum moss. And I think this will do the trick for them. Someone said, I always accidentally overwater and end up killing plants. How do you not do this without neglecting your plants? I bang on about it all the time, but overwatering is hands down the biggest killer in houseplants. It's so easy to do, particularly if you want to be caring for your plants all the time. It is so easy to love them a little bit too much. And essentially when they have too much water, or the water's not able to drain properly, that's when the root system just gets completely overwhelmed and rotting starts to happen. I think, again, semi-hydro is a great shout here. It really does just help you to regulate your watering. If you don't want to do semi-hydro growing, things like using terracotta as your pot material, again, because it's porous, it kind of absorbs a fair amount of the water, and if you are quite prone to overwatering, this can just help to regulate things a little bit. But also, I think, like this person said about like how to do this without neglecting your plants. I think it's important to remember as well that like plants in their natural habitat will go through long periods of drought. Like, they are a lot of the time more drought tolerant than we give them credit for. And I am a classic underwaterer. I will let things get to the point where they are really quite dehydrated a lot of the time before I go back and water them again. I'm not saying that is the right thing to do, but if you know that you do lean towards the overwatering side, then I would definitely recommend just giving them a bit longer, like maybe longer than you think is right. And if you're not 100% sure that they're ready for a drink again, just give it a few more days. That would definitely be my best advice I could give on that. I think as well, like, and I was actually chatting to Ian, who owns Liquid Gold Leaf, the fertiliser brand. I was chatting to him about this the other day. He was like, if you look at plants' natural habitats, even rainforest plants, like obviously rainforest has a lot of rain and like gets a lot of water, you might be going, well, why don't they have root rot in their natural habitat? A lot of the time, plants' root systems, although they go down, they go out a lot more than they do in plant pots. Like when we use normal pots like this, we are encouraging the roots to very much go down to the bottom, and that's not typically how they would always grow. So they can't spread in the same way, and therefore they can't process water in the exact same way as they would be doing were you to be growing them in a natural, their own natural environment. Something that can kind of help with this, that again I've spoken about before, which I do for several of my plants, is put a layer, in fact I've got one here that I can show you, put a layer of semi-hydro, oh, it's very murky actually, you can't see that well, a layer of semi-hydro at the bottom, like there, and create a little water reservoir there, and then have soil on top. Although this is still like forcing the roots very much down, it does just mean that like not as much water is hoarded in the soil, and it does allow the plant like a little bit more space to process it. This one's very dry at the moment, actually. It does need a water, but typically I do find that works quite well for most plants. Also, like, oh, I'm trying to pull that off. That yellow leaf is not coming off. But yeah, typically like that is quite a good way of like replicating what they would be getting in their natural habitat more. Yeah, God, this one is so dry. How did I let this one get so dry? Whoopsie. Okay, right. I've got through quite a lot, but I've got that many still left on there. For the time being, I'm gonna just put a halt to this just because I know it's taking a very long time and I'd like to get on with this next. I may well come back to this, or I might do it off camera depending on how many questions we've still got to go through. I'm enjoying chatting through these ones with you guys. I'm just aware that might not be the most interesting thing for you to be watching right now. But I'm just gonna very quickly, then we got a bit more juice on the battery. Let's crack on with this one. So this plant here is my Dracaena goldiana. That's it. And it's doing pretty well. It's a little bit sparse on the bottom. Again, it did get very dehydrated a while ago and it did lose a few leaves. But I've also got a couple of other sections that I brought back from Malvern. These are actually part of our show garden. And again, it's like, although I love this plant and I'm actually quite happy having duplicates of this plant, right now, while I'm trying to make my time plant care wise a little bit less, and not have to be doing quite so much, I was like, I could absolutely pot these together, fill the main plant out, and also it would be, oh my God, what am I saying? It would be less for me to care for and it would make the plant look much fuller. That's where I'm going with it. So yeah, and I'm currently growing this one just in soil. This is actually just the soil mix that it came in, and it's doing pretty well like that. Like, I could go semi-hydro, but on this occasion, I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm just going to stick with soil. I think as well, because this is one that is very drought tolerant, it will mean that I can just let it dry a little bit more and the plant will be fine. But it is one that just has the most beautiful, beautiful foliage. I think it's so gorgeous. So not the sort of thing, well, for me anyway, not the sort of thing that you would look at and think Dracaena. I don't really know what genus it reminds me of, but it's not Dracaena, you know? So yeah, I'm just going to get this one out. I think it's probably very dry again. Oh my God, look at those roots. I was thinking maybe I'd be able to pop back up into the same pot, but you know what? I think it's time we went in with a bigger one. I have got some bigger pots just there. So I'm just going to start off just trying to get this out. Ooh, without damaging the roots. It's got too much. The roots look amazingly healthy though, which is good. One of you said, and this is a question that has come up so many times before, why does Yoli wear a muzzle? I often put like little videos of her and stuff on my Instagram stories if we're out for walks. And yes, she does wear a muzzle when we go out. She doesn't always wear a muzzle. Like, I've got several places that I take her to that are either like very desolate and there's no one else, like very rarely anyone else around, or enclosed spaces that we go to as well, where she comes off the lead more. But Yoli is a very reactive dog. I know you see her on camera just being like all cute and sweet, and like she is the sweetest girl. But she's a rescue. She was also a slightly older rescue. I didn't get her until she was, I think she was 2.5 when I got her, and she'd been at this shelter in Greece. She's a Greek rescue for that time, and she'd had several bad experiences with other dogs. A very nervous girl, and my God, she has come on leaps and bounds since I got her. However, she is still very, very reactive. Like, sometimes she'll be fine, but like, so there's other times, which is more often than not, she'll see another dog even from like 50 meters away, and her hackles will be up and she'll be going like that, and she can sound very, very aggressive. And while I always have her under control, I'll bring her in close to me, she'll be on her lead. it's more for the other dog owners, because sometimes other people do not put their dogs on leads when they see Yoli, and I have had times where other dogs will kind of come over and it really sets her off. I've also had times where and she's never been bad with children, but you've just always got to be wary with any dog, but particularly rescue dogs, or dogs that have had bad experiences, where there was one time where a child, I think about 5 or 6, jumped up out of a bush and grabbed her. And she didn't do anything, but again, she had her muzzle on, and I'm like, me as a responsible owner and knowing Yoli and knowing what she can be like, I'm like, it's just not worth the risk to not, apart from anything as well, when she does her kind of growly stuff, if I'm standing in between her and another dog, I don't want to accidentally get bitten. She would never, ever in a million years intentionally do it, but it's just about safety, So I'm not doing it to be a mean dog owner by any means. I just do feel I've had rescue dogs pretty much all my life. You need to be careful, don't you? So that is why she wears the muzzle. But as I say, also, my God, the soil is falling off these roots, and they are amazing. But yeah, as I say, we've got several places around in the area that we live that have lovely enclosed spaces. One's a beautiful big woodland space where she can run about and don't need to worry about the muzzle, because it's just her in there, or other dogs that we know and she knows. Because once she knows a dog, and once she knows that she doesn't need to defend and protect, most of the time she's fine. But yeah, in those spaces, she has freedom to run, play, muzzleless, all of that stuff, and she'll be totally fine. But when we're just out and about normally, typically I do tend to put the muzzle on her. Look at those roots. Aren't they incredible? Also, I'm going to actually just put them into water, seeing as I've got this water here. I know probably I should be using fresh water, but I'm not. I'm just going to actually see how easily the soil comes off these other ones, because if it's clean as that, I'm so tempted to do semi-hydro. Just because I'm those roots look prepped to go into semi-hydro, This one is growing in a very bad way. I'm just growing it in this tin, which has no drainage at all. This was meant to be a temporary thing post-mall then, and I just haven't got around to doing anything about it. So let's have a look. What is your favourite DIY project? I'm assuming you mean Planty DIY. Favourite? I mean, I've made videos specifically on this before, but I think probably things like using string to revamp nursery pots. I know it's something I've banged on about for years, but it is just a game changer. It saves you money, much more sustainable, cheap and cheerful to do, and you can revamp them however you like, and they don't then look like nursery pots. Also along that same, in that same vein, things like extending nursery pots, because I know I've said before, tower pots, this are very, very tall, and often finding pots that work well for them is quite difficult. But this one, in fact, is a complete DIY pot. On the bottom, I've kind of done, I think this was baking soda and bits of tree fern fibre to kind of give it that muddy kind of texture. And then I've just extended the top of it just by wrapping some cord and super glue and stuff like that around the top. I have actually got a DIY playlist on my channel that has lots of fun crafty project things that I've done over the years, but I think if I had to just pick one, I think that would probably be it. But as I've said so many times before, both me and Ross love crafts. We do crafty things all the time. And this is unrelated to plants, but one of my favourite things to do at the moment actually is my granny worked she ran her local post office for oh my goodness, I want to say probably like 40, 50 years, like from when she was very, very young up until she retired. And bless her heart, over the years, she put together, I think from the year I was born, this huge big stamp collection for me, of like pretty much every single stamp that came into circulation at the time since the date of my birth, which was 1993. And so, yeah, when she died, I got given this incredible stamp collection, and it's a really lovely thing to have. But I'm not a massive fan of stamps, or like I'm not. I don't know. Like, I'm not that attached to the stamps. I love them because my granny loved them, and it was such a thoughtful, lovely thing for her to do. But since we've moved into the house, I was like, okay, well, what can we do with them to kind of, I don't want to get rid of the stamp collection. I don't want to sell it or anything like that. But I also like, it seems a shame for it to just be cluttering up a shelf when it's never like looked at or appreciated. So I've started going through and finding stamps that I like and using them to create art for the house. So like, I'll put a picture in, actually. I've framed quite a lot of them. I'll go to charity shops and like find old frames, and a lot of the time like material that I like if there's, for example, I cut up a skirt and actually made one of my friends a birthday present with it the other day. I'll like make mounts for the frames out of like cool fabric and stuff, and then I've just been putting the stamps into the frames, and I think it looks really lovely, and it's been a really nice way to actually appreciate them and look at them and know that it's a little bit of my granny, and it also just makes something beautiful for the house. So that's a fun crafty project that I've been enjoying recently. Obviously crochet, I still really love crochet, but I go through phases with crochet. Like, I'll do it obsessively for like a month, and all I want to do is crochet. Like, if I get on a train, I'll be like, oh, must bring my crochet. And then I'll just be like, I can't be bothered to crochet anymore, and I just won't touch it again for ages. So I kind of dip in and out of things a little bit like that. But it's quite nice to have a myriad of crafty things that you can go back to as and when you're feeling them. Like, I'm just looking through to the living room right now, and I've got it was once a laundry basket that is now my wool basket, and it is just full of wool, half finished projects that will probably never get finished, and just like things that I can just dip into if I fancy it. I made a bucket hat recently, and I was just watching a movie with Ross, and I was like, I'm just going to start to crochet. And I actually want to start crocheting some plant pots, because I've seen some amazing crochet plant pots, and I think that would just be quite a fun thing to do, and probably not a particularly big project either. There's always DIY things on the go. Again, let me know some of your favourites, because I know it's funny actually, so many people that are into plants also really seem to be into arts and crafts, which I love. It's a creative community we've got over here, so let me know some of your favourite projects. Okay, going back to the plant, getting distracted. But these have got such great roots that without even me needing to rinse them, I could probably do a little bit better job of pulling some of this out. But like, look at these. These are literally ready to go into semi-hydro. So I'm just going to, I've actually got some pre-rinsed semi-hydro next to me here. So I'm just going to get a bigger pot, and then we can pot them up. Fabulous. Okie doke. So I think I'm going to use a big tower pot, just because I didn't realise quite how much. Oh, don't know if you heard that. That was Yoli. I didn't quite realise how many roots this plant would have. I rinsed this the other day when I was doing my semi-hydro video, but I'll probably give it a flush through once I've done this anyway. But yeah, I haven't grown this type of plant in semi-hydro before, but it's such a hardy plant from what I know of it. In my time of growing it, I do feel like it will just adjust really well and be absolutely fine. as I say, usually I'd be like, go rinse the roots off, but these roots are so clear. I'm not going to do that. I'm not worried about that. Oh, might actually, thing with these roots, they're so like woody. I think that's the Dracaena-ness of them, because Dracaenas often do have quite woody roots. They're not a lot of flexibility, so I'm going to just try and spread them a little bit if I can. One of you asked as well, when would you pot up a water propagation? Again, it depends. It depends on the plant. Like some plants that aren't super sensitive can be potted up like within the first few weeks. Like some people say when the roots are growing roots. I would usually say there's no solid rule, but like, for example, if I was water propping, a pothos plant. Let's use a pothos plant again as an example because I am going to water prop these ones. When the roots get to probably about that long for the size of the cutting, I would go ahead and pot them up. But if you're in any doubt, just leave them propping in water for a little bit longer. Leaving them in water is not going to do them any harm. I think often issues happen when people jump in and try and do things too quickly. So yeah, I would absolutely say if you're in any doubt, like again, leave it another few weeks and then come back to your plant and just see what things are looking like then. Actually, again, using this plant as an example, I know this one has been in soil, but like you can see that one's got a really great root system on it. I would, if that was a propagation, if that was like a water propagation, this is probably the point at which I'd go, okay, cool, it can be potted up. And if the root system is not as significant as that, again, if you're in any doubt, leave it for a little bit longer. Plants do and can grow hydroponically, which just means in water anyway for like long periods of time. Loads of people do grow that way. So it's not going to harm your plants in any way if you do leave it that little bit longer. And then the next question was, do you ever get imposter syndrome? Yeah, all the time, literally all the time. I think to a certain degree, I think to a certain extent, all of us do, don't we? But like, I don't know, like even though in some areas, I like to think that I'm quite a confident person. I think just self-doubt is something that always creeps in, and especially with like doing what I do now, I often find it hard not to compare what I do to other people like in my niche, in my industry, like other creators. Are they doing better than me? Should I be doing more? Am I not doing enough? And that can be really hard, and that can really get in your own head. I know like everyone, as I say, gets it to some degree, whether it's work or personal or whatever, but I still often will find it weird when I put a video up on YouTube. I'm like, oh God, what if no one wants to watch it? What if everyone just thinks I'm a waffler? I know I am a waffler, but like, what if people are just judging me for it? And I know this is like the least judgy, most lovely community ever. And realistically, hopefully you wouldn't be watching my video if you didn't like my video. But also, like, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I'm very aware of the fact that I can't make everyone happy, and not everyone is going to like the way that I do things. But yeah, I often do think or feel that maybe I'm not deserving of it, which I know is silly. I think also as well, it's really, and then like I often find that like I'll look at other plant creators that maybe like don't have that many followers. Like there's a few channels that I follow that have only got like, or like less than 1,000 subscribers, for example. And if you're going to measure success by subscribers, which you absolutely shouldn't, like one viral video can give you hundreds of thousands of subscribers. It's definitely not about that. But I often look at like some smaller creators and I'm like, oh my God, the level of their content is phenomenal. And actually they've covered that in a much better way than I ever have and stuff like that. And then it makes me go, oh God, am I deserving of being in the position that I'm in? Because I know compared to some other channels, my channel's not doing well. Compared to some others, it is, you know. But it can make me doubt myself, and I know it probably shouldn't. Some of you guys, in fact, I know some of you that watch my videos are also on YouTube or on Instagram or on all of these things, and I love watching your content, and I love getting inspired by you, because it, like, so much about content creation for me, it's creativity, but it's also where you find your inspiration and how you get your ideas and how you allow those ideas to feel fresh. And like the things that I do in my plant collection and the ways that I am with my plants, a lot of the time is influenced by the ideas and the things that I see from you. And it's not that I would ever try to like take credit for things and be like, oh yes, I thought of this idea, guys. But often I guess like, I don't know. I don't know quite what I'm saying, but I also know what I'm saying. Like, it's hard to sometimes feel like you are worthy of talking about certain things when you're like, but this wasn't me. You know, does that make any sense? I think the short answer is yes. I do get imposter syndrome. Not always, but sometimes, and I think it will always be the case, no matter how self-assured and confident you are. It's just very easy to have those doubts, isn't it? Cool. How does that look? You can see it before I can. Oh my God, that looks so much nicer. So much nicer. Oh, that actually looks really cool now. It almost looks like a palm on top with the little ones around the bottom. Cool. Okay, so what I will do now, I need to find a big pot that I can use as a cover pot, kind of like I've done for the Musa here. And then I can create a little water reservoir at the bottom, and then this plant will grow semi-hydroponically. I'll let you know how it gets on. As I say, I've never done it with that type of plant before, but I see no reason why it wouldn't be happy like that. So yeah, we'll come back to it in a week or two and I'll give you a little update. But I think I'm probably gonna finish here today. I've got loads more questions, and actually some really lovely, really good questions. So maybe I will continue with these in another video like this soon, if you fancy it. I know recently I did, when I did my houseplant reset video, and I said like, let me know how you feel about this style with like more voiceover and stuff. I had lots of comments from you guys being like, please don't get rid of your chatty videos, and rest assured, I am never going to do that, because I love this. Like, this is my favourite kind of video to make. And it's so nice to be able to just sit down and have a chilled planty chat about stuff with you guys. I just also find it fun to just mix up the way I do things sometimes. I know not every video I make is going to align with every single person, and you're not going to love everything I put out. As I just said, I can't please everyone, and I'm not trying to. But for me as a creator, I do find it fun to just like mix things up from time to time. So yes. Anyway, if you were doing stuff along with this video, I really hope you got loads done. I feel pretty good about what I've got through. I know it was a very chatty one, but I feel like I stayed on track-ish. I know I've got the Anthurium berries to still deal with, but that can be an off-camera thing. It's like more of the same. But yes, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video.
Stay sexy, plant lovers.